I'm Barbara and I live at number 7 Whitmore Gardens. Welcome to this lockdown talk Up the Gardens, brought to you by Wooden Spoon Productions. Tonight's subject lives behind me. Let's go and meet her.
Quiet talk, I can't really hear what you say.
Here she is.
Well, hello, what a surprise. Do come in.
You want me to go in? I'm not allowed in. Oh yes, I'm my bubble bitch. So this is Suzanne's favourite spot. She's been sewing by the look of it.
I'm going to be sewing. I've been drawing.
You've been drawing, and take a look at this. What a talent. I didn't know you could draw. Look at that, lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Let's have a nice close-up of that. You've been sewing and drawing.
And on my computer.
You've been on your computer, watching the election results, no doubt. And I suspect you did some cooking recently, because Suzanne is a very good cook. She's a very good cook. I know that because I've had dinner with her.
And Suzanne was not expecting you in her kitchen.
Suzanne and I are allowed to be in the same house together because we are actually in a bubble together. She's my bubble mate. And let's now do our interview. Suzanne, I want to start by finding out when and why you came to Whitmore Garden.
We came in 1989, in June 1989, and why? Because we lived in Maida Vale in a very, very nice flat with 2 small children. The flat was not big enough, and we wanted a bigger space and a garden. And we moved here because it was going to be close to the children's school, well, close-ish to the children's school, and it seemed a perfect place to move to. And beside that, we could afford it.
Oh, that's very interesting. So, when you say we, that was your husband and 2 children, but where were you originally from?
Ooh, that's kind of interesting. My husband's from Yorkshire. He was an architect. I am from the Midlands. I was born in Birmingham, and I'm first generation British, as my father was Irish and my mother was French. And I grew up in the Midlands, and I came to London because the streets are paved with gold. And I had meant to move on to Rome afterwards because I wanted to learn Italian, but I never got to Rome. And I put my roots down here in London.
Now, you were telling me that within days of moving into this house, you were out. Why?
Yes, well, my daughter went to the Petite École in Parsons Green, l'École Jacques Prévert in Parsons Green, and they had been looking for children who were bilingual to be in a film. And she got the role, she got one of the main roles in the film, Sheila. The film's called The Pied Piper. It's a story by Neville Shute. We moved in here, and 4 days later I packed the bags and I was setting off with Edward and Claire up to Manchester to start the filming.
So you then came back a couple of months later.
We came back a couple of months later.
And then you had to do your moving in.
And then we had a moving in party, and Peter O'Toole came. And in our visitors book, Peter O'Toole has signed his name.
How lovely. Now, what have been the main changes you've seen in Whitmore Gardens over all those years?
There's less rubbish in the gutters because they clean them more. Lots of beautiful trees, of course, have been planted. But on the downside, a lot more people have turned their beautiful front gardens into parking lots, which absolutely infuriate me because gardens are incredibly important for our well-being, and whatever little patch you can cultivate is a recognition of your responsibility to this earth. Even if it's a little window box, it is that.
That's how I first met you, because I met you when you were walking past my house when I moved in 7 years ago, and you looked at my driveway and you said, "Oh, such a pity." Are the people different from the people, or the types of people from when you moved in? Are they different?
That's a difficult one, because when I first moved in, I was working. I had 2 small children, so my life mostly was in and out the front door. I didn't really know my neighbours. It took some time to get to know my neighbours, because I was just going from day to day, kind of coping with everything. I only really got to know my neighbours more recently because of the lockdown, which in some ways has brought that.
In many ways it's been wonderful, I think, is what you want to say there.
Yes.
Give us a tip, a bit of insight into this area. You know something about what the land around here was used for before the houses were built.
I know from a neighbour that the houses over the road were originally built on what was cress farms, and that's an indication of the amount of water that's in the land around us. If you look at the houses, though, this house was built in the 1890s, so obviously a speculator had come along and said, we'll have some houses here because it would be next to the railway line. So they built these houses, which are obviously, as I said, in the 1890s. And you can tell the 1890s houses on various stretches of road. And then the rest of this road is built in the 1930s, 1950s. And in fact, just up the road from me in Chamberlain Road, you'll see that particular set of building was stopped. And then more building went again into the, I think mostly the 1950s.
Like many of us in lockdown, life has been a bit different and we haven't worked as much maybe. But you haven't worked at all. Just tell us a bit, for those who don't know, what your day-to-day job would be if you weren't in lockdown.
Well, I worked in publishing for a long time, and then when that came to an end, I was wondering what to do, and I've always been involved in things historic. History of art, architecture and all of that. So I trained as a tour guide. And so this year is absolutely nothing. There's no tourists coming to this country at all. And it's a complete example of the knock-on effect of such events for everybody. I mean, no tourists, no restaurants, no pubs, no, all the money that people make from the touring industry and hotels, all of that. So, no, I haven't worked, but I've had the wonderful opportunity afforded me by my wonderful neighbours, Fiona Malaysia and Barbara Want, of doing a series of art talks on Zoom to you all.
And I would just like to say she does get spotted in the street, because I was with her outside Hyde Park and somebody cycled past saying, "Hi, Whitmore Gardens." Last question, because we're short and tight for time. What do you like, I presume you like, what do you like about living in Whitmore Gardens and Kensal Rise?
I shouldn't be frowning like that. I think the neighbourhoodness of it all, the communication with the people all around me, the fact that I know that in the houses around me are benign spirits, people who are generous and I can turn to in my time of need, or should I need somebody to put the dog out for a pee, or if I leave my keys, lock myself out, or just going around for a chat and a cup of tea. I think that is essential to survival, really, because it makes you feel part of a community.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Go on, give us a kiss then.
No. Thank you, Suzanne. That was fantastic. And now let's see if anyone has any questions for you.
Hello.